If one day you intend to sell your business, you need to watch this important report. Today's survey suggests that most small to medium-sized business owners still view the sale of their business to another private seller as their preferred and most likely exit route. However, these owners tend to overestimate how easy it will be to find a suitable buyer, and they underestimate how important they are personally to the business as a going concern. These problems become more acute the smaller a business is. As a result, owners get a swift, sharp shock when they find they cannot either get the price or the type of sympathetic or local buyer that they hoped they would find. And by this time, it's too late in the game to turn things around. Very often, the announcement that a company is up for sale can have a negative impact on relations with customers, suppliers, employees, and the local community, which can go a long way to further weaken the confidence of these key stakeholders in the business. This is why the National Diversified Funding Corporation have introduced the Build-Up Buy-In solution. This is for business owners wishing to sell their businesses in a structured, timely process, which leaves the owner with an enduring asset which sells for a premium price. The Build-Up Buy-In is designed to fill a very unique niche that's actually in big demand right now. What that is that you have people who have spent a lifetime trying to build up their business, and at some point they plateau out because they have limited skill sets. In other words, if you look at the stages of a business, the business owner person who starts the business has certain skills and competencies that enable it to get up and running, but they may not have the organizational skills to build it to where it's what we refer to as scalable. In other words, where it can be grown. Because other people have now taken over some of the controls, some of the high-level tasks that the owner may not have been capable of originally. Not everybody can do everything perfectly. And so, to build a business of any size, you need to be able to make it scalable. And that means bringing in other people who have expertise that you don't. A lot of business owners find it very hard to do that. And so, they reach a certain stage where their business plateaus out. Now what happens then is that if they stay as the primary person for operating their business, then what happens is they don't grow. They get to a point in time when they are ready for retirement, and all of a sudden they want to sell their business, but it can't command a high price because it's totally dependent upon that business owner being there day in and day out to run it. So, in order to get the business past that, something has to happen that enables that to happen. Generally, when a company is growing, those limitations to growth are replaced with massive amounts of capital that are then invested in the business to help it grow over that plateau, to grow over that place. This is what your typical private equity firm will do. What a firm like National Diversified Funding do is that we take a different approach called a build-up buy-in. We understand exactly what's going to be required to take that business to its next level and to make it worth 2, 3, 5, 10 times what it is right now. What we're not about to do is to hand to the business owner the capital to do it, because they don't have the core competencies or skill sets to do that, because if they did, they would have done it already over all these years. So what we do is we literally partner up with them, and we take on the tasks of doing all the things that will implement the processes that take them to the next level, helping them increase their staff, increase their sales and marketing, decrease their costs of doing business, put in the strategies and structures that will take them to that next level that they aren't familiar with currently. And then we set up milestones where we don't charge anybody anything to do this. Now, what we do instead is that we come in on our dime, we take the responsibility of building up each of these areas, and then we set up milestones. Now, we don't charge anybody anything to do this. What we do instead is that we come in on our dime, we take the responsibility of building up each of these areas, and then as the business hits milestones, growth milestones as we're accomplishing this, then we get a percentage of equity in the company. The whole goal is for us to work together with the owner, build that business up over 3 to 5 years at the maximum, and then sell it to actually a strategic buyer who will not only pay for the higher value that the company is now worth, but they will actually pay a premium because we will have structured that business to be attractive to that strategic buyer. Now, what we mean by a strategic buyer is that it's a person who gets two values. Where it's a business that may require the other company, they get two values, not just one. When they make the acquisition, they get the value of that company's cash flow and profit, but they also get the benefit to their own company of increased sales or a decreased cost that make their own business more profitable because of what that company they acquired can do for them in their operations. Now, without getting into more detail, the strategic buyer would pay a premium for that company, and that enables us and the original owner to exit the company within that 3 to 5 year time frame where everybody's shares are worth many multiples of what that company was worth prior to us getting involved. And if we don't succeed, well, we don't meet those growth milestones, we don't get any equity. So it's virtually risk-free to the business owner. It's a win-win structure. We win, they win, and the buyer's going to win because the buyer's going to be acquiring something massively valuable. And we don't see it as risky either. You see, if we put money into the company and then depended on the business owner to be able to use it wisely, that would represent risk because the business owner at that point does not have a proven capability to build their business beyond that plateau. So it's not risky for us because we don't put in necessarily cash. If there is cash required, we'll help them get that infused into the company, but most often it's not cash that's required, it's know-how. It's the capability and the infrastructures, all of which we have in place that we know we can deploy into that company. We won't take on a company unless we know that our resources will make that strategic and significant difference in that company. And so for us, we don't see it as risk because we're not betting on the business. We're not betting on the company. We're not betting on the owner. We're betting on us because we've evaluated it before we went in and we know we can deliver. And so we're very comfortable with that. And very rarely do we make mistakes on that anymore. We have got that down to a pretty good science. One thing to understand is that if the business is still primarily dependent upon the owner for its operations, in other words, the business owner usually likes to control everything, and so they make sure as they're trying to build their business, they have control over all the various pieces of their business. Now, that has a positive to it because they feel comfortable with that. They realize that when they're exercising control, they can maintain the business at that certain level. The problem with that is that when you go to sell the business, unless you're selling the business owner too, that business comes without that person around whom it was dependent on. That person was structured to be important and critical to the operation of that business, so nobody can buy a complete business anymore from that person because they're going to have to go in and replace that business owner, and they're not going to have the same years of experience and the same history, and the same relationships with customers and suppliers that the owner had. So the goodwill value of the business shrinks dramatically. And the chance of the owner getting a really good price for the business, or sometimes even to be able to sell it at all, becomes very, very low. The fact is, 78% of all businesses do not survive the owner on retirement. What that means is that they don't get sold, they don't get passed to the children who can succeed with them and then end up being liquidated at the retirement of the owner for a fraction of the value that business could command as a going concern if it was structured properly. So what we do is that we really accomplish two value escalations for the owner. One is when we get involved, like now, the company will no longer be looking at a possible liquidation, number one. And number two, we're going to radically increase the sale value over a 3 to maximum 5 year period to where that owner's going to have way more than enough money to retire with a lifestyle that's better supported than when he was actively running his company. We at National Diversified Funding are also aware of another group of business owners, and these owners are people who have built their business to a certain plateau and may not wish to get out of business and retire. It's not going where they want it to go, so they're really just looking to sell as a last-ditch effort. They're not ready to retire, but they're looking to sell and get out and then take their money and go do something else. Well, we can help those too. And the same process works for them that works for the people who are looking to retire. These people, without knowing it, actually represent the other side of the business retirement sale transaction. These are the people who want to acquire businesses and build their business growth by acquisition. Now that's an important part of this process because there are two ways to grow a business. One is by internal growth, where you work very, very hard to increase your sales. If you're very good at that, you might grow 20-25% per year for several years, and then invariably as you penetrate your market, your growth rate will slow down. And as your business matures, you'll get down to around 5 or 10% per year growth, and that's typical. There are obviously exceptions to this, but that's the standard. That's the norm. Well, what we're able to do is to expand the capability of a business to grow by external growth, which is acquiring other companies and adding them to the one that you already have. When you grow by acquisition, when you grow by external growth, you're not limited anymore to 20-25% per year. You don't slow down to 5 or 10% per year. You grow logarithmically because every 6 months to a year you can buy a company that's darn near the size you are, and you keep buying larger companies, more strategic companies. Our speciality is picking these acquisitions without the need for large amounts of capital. Whatever capital is required, we're able to usually help generate. And as we generate that capital is usually very small amounts, but we're able to make very substantial acquisitions because of the strategies and techniques and methods that we've developed over the last 45 years. So, those are the things that we really work with here at National Diversified, and we look forward to helping businesses grow, helping entrepreneurs achieve their dreams of giant companies, if that's what they want to build. And then at the end of the line, when it's time to retire, how do you optimize that company for sale? How do you get out of that business with the maximum amount of cash in your pocket and to have the wherewithal to live that great lifestyle on retirement? So, feel free to read the free articles on this site, and be sure to sign in to receive exclusive newsletters and tools geared to helping you achieve the personal goals you have for your business. Thank you for watching.